What's going on, y'all? Hey, it's game day. Hey, if you ever see me wearing my Georgia cap, you know I'm filming a video on a Saturday. Today we take on Kentucky in their house. It's going to be a great game. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today we're going to be talking about the new Presonus HD8 and hooking up multiple units. I'm going to show you how I did it using the ADAT method. Also, I'll cover a little bit about the, if you're using a Mac, I'll cover a little bit about the aggregate device as well. So hey, don't go anywhere. I hope this helps you out. We're going to get right into it. Hey, if you're new to the channel, I'm Ray with Second Chance Rising, and this is the channel that's more than just about our music and our ministry, but it's about mixing tutorials and recording and gear reviews. And you've kind of caught us if you've just found us. We're kind of transitioning from mixing 100% and recording 100% in the box to more of a hybrid setup. And one of the key things that I needed to do is update and upgrade my interface, and I've chosen the HD8. Now I'm actually using 3 units because I wanted to take advantage of having 24 inputs and not have to do any patching and be ready to go. So today I'm going to show you how we hooked it up in ADAT. I had a couple requests on this recently actually, so I felt like I'd go ahead and do a video on it. So here you see the back of the unit, and you can see just above the computer port, just to the right of the power source there, you'll see 4 ADAT inputs. And basically it's pretty easy. A little bit of setup. It took me a little bit of time to monkeying around with it because I wasn't quite clear on the out of the instructions in the manual. But you're going to go out of ADAT 1 into the out of ADAT 1 on the second unit. And then you're going to go out 1 on this first unit and into ADAT 1 on the second unit. Okay? So not too complicated there. So you're going to go, and the in one, you're going to go to the out one on the second unit, and then on the out one into the in unit on the second unit, if that makes sense. Now, if you're blessed enough to have 3 of these like we are, when you go out the in 2 on this first unit, you'll actually go in to out 1 on your third unit. You don't go to your 2. So that was one thing that threw me a little bit when I was first setting 3 of these up. All right, so now we see how we've hardwired it into the back of the units. Now we're going to check out your global settings and how you need to set that up. So we're going to take a look here. So on the first unit, you're going to go into global settings, and you'll need to make sure that your clock source is set to eternal and your standalone is mixer. Okay, on your second unit, your clock source should be set to ADAT, and your standalone here should be set to ADAT as well. And if you're running a third unit, you would set the third unit the same here as the second unit. So now we would go to, let's take a look at now inside Studio One in the I/O setup and what you need to do there. So now we've seen how we set it up in the back of the units, physically hardwired them in. We've checked out, we've got our global settings done. So now we'll need to configure it inside of Studio One if you're using Dissolve Studio One like I am. Presonus fanboy here. So you go into I/O setup. The first thing you'll need to do is go into the preferences here and make sure that the Quantum HD is selected. So the first time you set it up, it may have your monitor or some other device set up. So make sure you select the Quantum HD8. It's going to show up just as 1 unit, even though you have 2 or 3 units set up. And then you're going to go to your I/O setup. Now mine's already set up to a default I/O configuration type page, so yours may just have the one top thing depending on if you're using a template inside of Studio One or so forth. So you'll have to set this up just like you normally would. Hopefully you already know how to do that part of it, but basically you'll see you would just add whichever, like you did, like I just did here, to add whichever, how many channels you need up to the however many units that you have. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these. So it shows all the inputs. Now, one thing that I do is I go ahead and name all my inputs for what I have it routed. It just makes it so much easier in Studio One when I get ready to set up a session. The outputs here, I've got my output set up as well. Got Got one set of monitors running out of 1 and 2 outputs. I've got another set of monitors running out of 3 and 4. So then you got all your ins and outs. Now, one thing that I will mention on the outs is the HD8s have 10 outs, which was very attractive to me for running the outboard gear. But one thing I did find out is, you see here, this is your first unit, 1 through 10 on your outs. Then you've got your reamp, your looping in and out, and your spidiff. But now when you get to your second or your third units, you can only have up to 16 outs. I guess it's an ADAT thing. Presonus says it's not a Presonus thing. It's more of an ADAT thing. It's not like a software thing. But so you can't run more than 16 outs, or at least with these units. So you can't run the other 4 outs to get full use of the other 2 outs in this type of configuration. So you can run up to 10 on your first one, but on your next 2, you can only run 8 apiece. So that was stumping me a little bit when I was doing my configuration. So that's one little quick note. So if you're interested in setting this up as an aggregate device, if you're using a Mac, now if you've got a PC, you can't do it this way from what I understand. So the PC and Mac guys, y'all can fight that out down in the comments below. But if you're using a Mac, you can set this up as an aggregate device as well. So when you're setting up as an ADAT, you've got 1 unit plugged into the computer, and then everything else is plugged into that first unit or the second unit. With an aggregate device, you're plugging in the units separately without ADAT cables into your computer. So you're using an extra port in your computer. And it's the way that I first had this routed until I got some ADAT cables in and hooked it up this way. So let me show you a little bit about how you would do it that way. I won't go through the full setup and show you because I don't have it hardwired in, but go in here and search for your MIDI. And then what you would do is you would select aggregate device here, and you create new, and then you would check mark your quantums here that however many you've got, 1 or 2, and it would show all of your inputs and outputs. And then what you would do is you would go into your Presonus or whichever interface that you're using, into preferences, and instead of picking the Quantum HD8 this time, even though that's available, you would select aggregate device, and then you would have that set up as an aggregate device. So I hope that you found that useful, and you don't have to rely completely on the manual. I'm a visual type guy. I hate reading that manual and trying to figure things out. Sometimes it's not very clear to me for whatever reason. Videos always help better. So we showed you 2 ways to hook up the Quantum HD8s in succession today, using the ADAT method, and then I touched on a little bit on the aggregate method if you're using a Mac. That you can also set that up with a world clock type sync as well that we didn't cover today. But I hope you found this useful. If you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video. We're going to be talking about some more transitions we're making, going from mixing 100% in the box to more of a hybrid setup. So if that interests you, make sure you ring the bell so you don't miss a video. Hey, we love you and God loves you. Keep looking up. We'll see you next time.